Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. My name is Sam Kaplan, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of modifications, some changes that I've recently made to my training program in response to a little bit of elbow pain that I've been experiencing. My left elbow has been bugging me a little bit over the last little while. It's been a little bit inflamed, a little bit painful. It might be some tendonitis, some tendinopathy. So in response to that pain, that soreness, I am changing my program to make sure that I continue on the path to building more muscle without aggravating and making it worse. Rather, I'd like to rehab it. I'd like it to heal while I continue building muscle. So I'm going to share with you some of the changes that I've made in response to that. And my hope is perhaps in sharing that with you, maybe if you've experienced your own nagging pains, nagging injuries in the past, maybe you're experiencing something right now and you've been stumped. You've been wondering, how can you keep training without making the injury worse? Maybe you wake up in the morning and you just feel really bummed out every day, that you feel the pain, you feel like it's really holding you back from making progress in the gym. I've certainly been there myself. So I thought maybe it would be helpful if you've experienced anything like that before and you're wondering how you can rehab the injury whilst continuing to make progress and to train and even enjoy your training. I thought maybe it'd be helpful to share what I like to do when I start to experience nagging pains, even nagging injuries like what I'm experiencing right now. I started lifting when I was very young, so my early teens, if not even earlier than that, and I'm into my 30s now, so I've been training for a good while now, and I've been training very hard. And over the course of the years that I have been lifting, I've experienced my fair share of nagging pains, injuries, so on and so forth. Especially in the first half of my lifting journey. I'm very stubborn-hearted, that's for sure. So experienced my fair share of injuries, especially in that first half of my lifting journey as a byproduct of training with improper technique, lifting too heavy, so on and so forth. But even so, in the last 5 to 7 years, as I've been really making my training efficient and effective, although the rate in which I experience injuries is much less frequent, I still run into things every now and again, that's for sure. I think that it is these little nagging pains, these injuries, they are almost to be inevitably expected as we try to continue to push our limits and to build more muscle. At least I'll speak for myself and say that that's probably going to be a part of my journey. What I've learned is the best thing to do is to focus on how you react to those pains and those injuries and make sure that what you're doing in the gym is something that is, it's leading you to making progress, building more muscle, getting you stronger, of course, but making sure that you're not sacrificing your joints and connective tissue in the process. So when you start to feel those pains, you react to it appropriately. You make changes as needed so that you can continue progressing without aggravating, without making things worse, and even helping to rehab the injury so that you can continue training hard to build more muscle and to potentially get stronger. So, hey, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share with you some of the changes that I've made because my own elbow, we'll call it an elbow injury, and hopefully it might help you a little bit the next time you experience a little bit of nagging pain, some soreness, or if you're experiencing an injury right now and you're wondering, what the heck can I do with it? But without further ado, let's just go ahead. We'll dive in and I'll show you what I'm doing. So there were no modifications needed on these Romanian deadlifts that I'm doing on this belt squat machine. No aggravation, no pain whatsoever. So I've continued progressing with this exercise as planned. Exercise is still going well. One of my favorite ways to hit the hamstrings and glutes right now. My progression has been pretty streamlined. The way that I progress is I have a rep target that I try to hit. So for this exercise, for example, my rep target is 15. So I try to hit 15 reps for my first set. The session that I'm able to do that, I will kind of level up. So the next session, I'll increase the load by the smallest increment possible and try to hit that rep target for my first set again. Oftentimes, I can't do that. Once I lift a little bit heavier, then my reps will drop a little bit. So I stay at the same load until I am able to hit the rep target. So for this exercise, for example, I'll stay at the same load until I can hit that 15th rep. If I get really, really stuck and plateau, then I'll make some kind of a change to how I progress, or maybe even change the exercise. But I like to be really patient with it, push really hard, but I will stay at the same load until I hit that rep target, unless I'm genuinely plateaued or it gets really, really stale. So I hit 13 reps in that first set in the past clip there, which is 1 rep more than the last time I did the exercise. So we're making progress, no complaints. Now, this is something I did modify. I'm not sure if you noticed, but my bench press here, I've changed the bar that I'm using. So this is what you call a cambered bar. The advantage of using it is because it's kind of got that gap in the middle, I'm able to bring it down 4 or 5 inches lower than I would with a traditional barbell, a traditional bench press barbell or Olympic barbell. Now, reason behind this change is, again, I'm dealing with that little bit of elbow aggravation, soreness, inflammation. I want to find a way of training my chest doing an exercise like this, but without lifting as heavy. One of the reasons I think I developed that pain was because I was lifting very heavy with the bench press quite frequently. So quite heavy twice a week. And I think that was a little bit too much for my bones, joints. Maybe my muscle bellies could handle it, but not so much the tendons and ligaments. That's my suspicion. So I've decreased the load substantially from what I would usually be lifting, but I changed the barbell type to the cambered barbell where I can move lower. I'm moving a little bit slower. I'm pausing at the bottom. So basically I'm able to take a lighter load, but get just as much, if not more, stimulus for muscle growth. And with that lighter load, it's not aggravating my elbow at all. It's just a little bit less stress and tension on that area. But at the same time, I'm able to bring a lot of stimulus to my chest and some of my other musculature. So I'm still progressing just fine, and it's a change that I'm happy to make. It's also kind of fun to change. I've never used the cambered bar before. This is my first time. It's a different feeling, and I'm liking it. I'm not used to it, but it's a little bit exciting for me to get to have this opportunity to kind of get excited each time I go to it, try to figure out how I can get a little bit better at it, get stronger at it. So it's making things a little bit more exciting. This is another modification I've made. I didn't necessarily make the modification for my elbow, although I am being mindful with the pulling movements that I don't aggravate, make it worse when I am doing an exercise like this. But I opted to try these instead of the chest supported T-bar rows that I've been doing basically 4 days a week. So it was getting a little bit stale just because of how frequently I was doing it. From a psychological standpoint, I've been feeling it really well. I have been progressing for the most part overall, but from a psychological standpoint, I was like, oh man, I got these T-bar rows again. Like I do them 2 days a row, then I don't do them the third day, then I do them 2 days a row again. So what I've opted to do is I'm going to do this one day, I'm going to do the T-bar rows another day, I'm going to do the lat pulls another day, and then one of those days I double with another back exercise, because that's one of my areas of focus. It gets a little bit more volume, and that's my loaded neutral grip chin-ups. But anyways, what I realized is I don't love the grip on this. I like the other grip better. So I like the kind of more straight grip versus this more angled, the deeper angled grip. I find that actually even with the wrist straps, my grip gives out a little bit faster than I'd like versus the other grip, the one that's a little further out there. So I'm going to opt to keep doing these, but I'm going to use the other grip moving forward. And I also feel it more with the other grip. To be honest, not exactly sure 100% why. I'm sure it's related to my physiology, how long my arms are, how I'm physiologically built. That might be part of the reason why one grip works a little bit better than the other for me, or at least that's how I'm perceiving it, how I feel. But anyways, I'm going to go with that flow. I'm going to grab the outer ones the next time, and I am going to keep the T-bar rows. I'm just going to do it a little bit less frequently. I'll do it 2 times a week, and then I'll do that chest supported row 2 times a week, so on and so forth. So just a little less frequently to give me some psychological space from the exercise, more or less. We need a little bit of space. But anyways, here are my upright, again, we'll just call them upright kettlebell rows. These are still hitting really, really hard. There is seldom a session where I do these and I do not feel an immense amount of tension on my delts. I'm really excited. I'm not gonna lie, it's funny to think, like, I've got years before I compete again. But just the way that I'm already feeling an improvement in how I'm training my delts. It's making me really excited because if I keep doing this, if I keep coming back to training my delts like this every session, how am I gonna be improved? Like, what kind of improvements are really gonna show the next time I go and I compete again? That's what I'm really excited about. So, only time will tell. Okay, now I did make a modification on these bicep cable curls. Still love the exercise. The modification I made, simple one, just lifting lighter. Basically, in lifting lighter, it's just putting a little bit less tension, a little bit less stress. It's my left elbow. I get like kind of like an elbow click. So a little bit less stress on that. I do more reps instead, more volume, keep it really controlled as you see here. So like good control, good poise, little squeeze at the top. And I'm trying to milk every rep for what it's worth. These sets are really long, right? It's like on a minute, it's like a 2-minute long set. So it takes a lot of concentration, but the last like 7 to 8 reps are absolute fire. Maybe the first 10, 11, 12 reps, it feels like a little bit of air guitar, we'll say. Like, yeah, I know I'm moving, but I don't know what my muscles are doing. Can't really feel them a ton. But then for those last 7, 8, 9 reps, because these sets are so long, I think I did over 20 reps here. Those last 7, 8 reps, they're absolute fire. The burning sensation, it really feels like they're hitting well. So I think that this might be one of those situations where maybe it was good that I ran into that elbow pain, because it's making me change how I do these in a way that's actually really going to help muscle growth. You know, that's actually a philosophy that I've adopted, or it's a way of thinking that I've adopted, is sometimes when we injure ourselves, it forces us to change the way that we move, change our technique, the way that we think about an exercise, that actually in the long term really helps us improve the efficiency of our training to actually help us build more muscle. So sometimes we injure ourselves. It's the best thing that can ever happen. Not always, and believe me, I know that those pains are frustrating as heck, especially when you are in it, but maybe in the grand scheme of things, it might teach us something. And I think I've learned at least a little something from every single one of my injuries. Just so you know too, the injury itself, it's like a 2 out of 10 right now. Like I feel it sometimes, not very much. Right now I'm just more or less being careful that I don't re-aggravate it, because it's easy to re-aggravate a connective tissue injury. That's one of the keys when you experience these kind of pains. A lot of times people experience them and they think that they're like completely screwed, but you're not. You just need to change how you train and make sure that you stick with the changes for long enough to rehab the injury so it's completely healed more or less, and you make sure that you don't do what you did in the first place to cause the injury. And that's where the learning comes in. You do your best to figure out what caused it, make sure you don't do it again, and then maybe you continue implementing some of the positive changes that you've made in trying to rehab the injury. I think it's done a lot of good for me. Little change that I made here too, decrease the load again just with the bicep curls, and also slowed down both the eccentric, so moving really slow, but also slowed down the concentric purposely as well too. So I'm trying to make the most out of the lighter load. I'm not lifting a ton of weight, but it is hard as heck. So another good change. Anyways, guys, I'm going to end it here. I hope you found this at least a little bit helpful. If you liked the video, go ahead, like it, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.